today. Indeed, we had the pleasure to meet Gyorgy for the first time in his new capacity as Prime Minister of Georgia, and really to congratulate him on his appointment. Following bilateral meetings we both had with him, we just had a joint meeting with Commission President Juncker. It was a very productive exchange, I have to say, of views in a very friendly atmosphere, which may serve to illustrate how good the EU-Georgia relationship actually is already today. The association agreement, with its deep and comprehensive free trade area, constitutes the basis for our relationship. In this context, we discussed how both sides could work together constructively so that the current good pace of progress is sustained. Efforts should now focus on the identified reform priorities, above all on justice reforms such as the independence of judges and prosecutors and building confidence in law enforcement. I conveyed to the Prime Minister that the EU acknowledges the efforts that Georgia is making with regard to approximation of Georgia law to our acquis, and that we are overall pleased with the results of this work. I trust that Georgia will keep up its good performance. I reiterated towards the Prime Minister that the EU continues to support Georgia with the implementation of the association agreement. For the period 2014-2017, the EU has allocated up to €410 million as bilateral assistance, which is indeed a significant amount. These resources are concentrated in key sectors such as agriculture and rural development, public administration and justice, the latter being a top priority for EU funding. I am convinced, Prime Minister, that the combination of reforms and opportunities created by the association agreement and the substantial EU support will help transform the economy by creating more jobs and boosting investment in your country. In the joint meeting with the President, and this is probably what you are interested in, we touched upon visa-free travel for Georgian citizens, which is a matter of major importance for the country. The legislative proposal will be put forward in the coming weeks quickly. This is well deserved, as Georgia has fulfilled all benchmarks and made good progress. Then it's up to the Member States and the European Parliament to decide, and Commissioner Avramopoulos, and this is the reason why he has joined us, so we'll elaborate on any further details later on. So I look forward, Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, to the next occasion of continuing our, in the meantime, very constructive talks. And once again, thank you for all the progress you have made, and I wish you and the people of Georgia all the best.
Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. Let me express gratitude to President Juncker, Commissioner Hahn, Commissioner Avramopoulos for very interesting and fruitful meeting. By sharing common values with European Union and implementing the association agreement as well as visa liberalization action plan, Georgia has advanced on its democratic reform agenda and registered significant progress in many focal areas. In this very demanding process of modernization with the EU has been firmly standing by Georgia, providing solid assistance across all priority sectors. The EU's unwavering support for Georgia's territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders and active contribution to ensure stability on the ground is also critical. Today we had a good opportunity to go through the major issues on our cooperation agenda and discuss next steps to effectively promote Georgia's political association and economic integration with the EU. Timely finalization of the visa liberalization process is one of the top issues in our agenda. Georgia has successfully fulfilled all technical requirements, and now we look forward to the visa-free regime with the EU in the nearest future. This year we are going to revise the association agenda and define a new set of common priorities. The document will serve as a concrete roadmap for the implementation of the association agreement for the next 3 years. We have had an in-depth discussion with commissioners and President Juncker on making more progress towards Georgia's economic integration with the EU through effective implementation of the DCFTA. For the past 1 year and a half, we have seen trade with the EU grow and foreign investments flow increase. We hope that this trend will continue as we are set to make the full use of the potential of free trade with the EU. We have also discussed the importance of setting highest standards in the election year to increase the inclusiveness of the political stakeholders before the elections and to provide free media space and to continue reforms to improve rule of law in Georgia. In the end, I would like to again express my sincere gratitude to President Juncker and commissioners for very active engagement with Georgia and its association process. Thank you.
Commissioner Avramopoulos.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, the discussions and the meetings we had today took place in a very friendly and cordial atmosphere. They were constructive, as Mr. Hahn said, and very, very fruitful. We had the pleasure to welcome His Excellency, the Prime Minister of Georgia, in his very first visit to Brussels. We wish him also great success to his new endeavors, Mr. Giorgi and his colleagues and his foreign minister. And of course, we discussed throughout the day the next steps of the visa liberalization process. In December, as you all remember, we adopted the fourth and last progress report on Georgia's implementation of the action plan on visa liberalization. As you know, we concluded that Georgia has met the benchmarks set out, and we committed to present a legislative proposal to lift visa requirements for Georgian citizens holding a biometric passport in early 2016. The real hard work of the Georgian authorities over the past 3 years towards achieving this important goal for the benefit of the citizens of Georgia has given positive results. The Commission is now preparing the legislative proposal to the Member States and the European Parliament. The timing of the actual visa-free travel of the Georgian citizens will depend on when the final decision will be taken by the Council and the European Parliament, once our proposal will be presented. The Prime Minister informed us today that an information campaign is already in place about the conditions of the visa waiver. And of course, I'm looking forward to visit Georgia early March to discuss the next steps. Thank you.
Mr. Commissioner, we talked about this topic in December after your press conference in the European Commission, but still want to know more details. You just mentioned about the proposal which Commission is preparing, when it will be ready.
You've been waiting for so many years, now you can wait for 1 or 2 months.
And Mr. Hahn, this is an election year for Georgia. What recommendations do you have for Georgian government? But first you, Mr. Commissioner.
Before I describe you, what are the next steps to follow? And I made a comment saying that they have been waiting for many, many years for that. And now it's a question of 1 or 2 months to come to the next step. We are very, very close. Since Georgia has met all benchmarks so far, that means that we are very close to the final decision.
In December you mentioned summer, so it still stands?
Maybe earlier, maybe around summer, but within the next month. Just keep this note, please.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hahn.
I think you should be aware we are trying to work hard, and we will, on the Commission side, to do everything. And then once again, it's up to the Member States and the European Parliament to decide. But on our side, we will act very fast and quickly so that Georgia and the citizens are reassured they have a perspective and a light at the end of the tunnel. And this is part of the whole so to say, run a process to the elections. We would like to sort out things where we have, so to say, an influence in order to give Georgia the opportunity to focus on the elections. I think it's important to agree on an electoral code. I have understood that the Prime Minister is ready to reach out to civil society, to other parties, and to find, hopefully, a consensual agreement on this. And I think it's important to understand it's about democracy. Democracy is competition, but it's competition about the best arguments. And it should be an exchange of words and discussions and debates, and this is what we would like to see. But for the time being, I think Georgia is in a good way, and certainly, like in many, many other countries, OSCE and ODIHR will be there, so there will be also monitoring of the preparatory phase of the elections, but also during the elections.
I was just, James Crisp from Euractiv. I was just wondering what part, if any, the migration crisis had in your discussions today, and if you could shed any light on that.
Well, migration is on the top of the global agenda. Of course, we didn't get into details, but I had the opportunity to present to the Prime Minister our policy on migration. But actually today we focused on the issues that had to do with the relations between Georgia and the European Union.